When NBA YoungBoy speaks, the internet listens. But this time, it wasn't just another viral rant or chart-topping preview. This time, fans are saying he may have pulled back the curtain on the music industry itself. In a series of raw, unfiltered statements, YoungBoy allegedly opened up about label politics, industry pressure, and what really happens behind the scenes once the cameras turn off. And now, people are asking, did he just expose how the game really works? For years, rumors have circulated about record deals that trap artists, contracts that look glamorous on paper but come with hidden strings attached, and executives who control more than fans realize. But hearing it directly, or at least seemingly directly, from one of the most streamed rappers in the world hits differently. YoungBoy has always had a reputation for being outspoken, unpredictable, and brutally honest. That authenticity is exactly why this latest moment is spreading like wildfire. Fans quickly began dissecting his words, pointing out moments where he appeared frustrated with the system that helped make him famous. Was he hinting at unfair treatment, creative control battles, financial manipulation, or was he simply expressing the emotional weight of fame and expectation? Social media lit up with clips, breakdowns, and heated debates about whether his comments confirm what many artists have quietly suggested for years. What makes this even more explosive is YoungBoy's position in the industry. He isn't an underground artist fighting for attention. He's a dominant force in streaming, consistently charting and moving massive numbers. If someone at that level is voicing concerns, it forces people to reconsider how much power artists truly have, even at the top. The idea that success doesn't always equal freedom is a narrative fans are increasingly willing to believe. Now the conversation is bigger than one artist. It's about contracts, control, loyalty, and what fame really costs. Did NBA YoungBoy just expose the music industry? Or is this just another misunderstood moment blown up by the internet? Either way, the spotlight is on, and the industry is watching. When NBA YoungBoy began speaking more openly about his experiences, it didn't feel like a polished PR rollout. It felt raw, unfiltered, and that's exactly why people paid attention. For years, fans have speculated about what really happens behind the scenes in the music business. The contracts, the control, the pressure to constantly produce. But when an artist at YoungBoy's level hints at frustration with the system, it lands differently. Is not an outsider trying to get in. Is already at the top of the streaming game. So if he's questioning the structure, fans naturally start questioning it too. One of the biggest themes people pulled from his statements was control. In the modern music industry, record labels often provide funding, marketing, distribution, and connections. In exchange, they take ownership stakes, publishing percentages, and long-term contractual rights. For new artists, that trade-off can feel worth it, exposure in exchange for a slice of the pie. But once an artist becomes massively successful, that same agreement can start to feel restrictive. If YoungBoy was hinting at limitations around release schedules, creative direction, or financial splits, it taps into a long-standing debate about who truly benefits most from record deals. Another layer to this conversation is productivity pressure. YoungBoy is known for releasing music at a relentless pace. Mixtapes, albums, surprise drops. He's built a brand around consistency and output. But fans began wondering, is that pace fully self-driven or partly contractual? In many deals, artists are obligated to deliver a certain number of projects within a specific time frame. That can create a cycle where taking a break isn't just a creative decision, it's a financial and legal one. If his comments were referencing burnout or obligation, it highlights how success doesn't automatically equal freedom. There's also the issue of image management. The industry often shapes narratives around artists, how they are marketed, what aspects of their personality are amplified, and which controversies are minimized or sensationalized. YoungBoy has always projected independence, but maintaining that image within a corporate structure can be complicated. If he was expressing frustration, it could reflect the tension between personal authenticity and business expectations. Fans today value realness more than ever, and any suggestion that an artist feels boxed in only strengthens that connection. Financial transparency is another topic that quickly entered the debate. Many artists in the past have spoken about confusing royalty structures, advances that must be recouped, and hidden costs deducted from earnings. While YoungBoy didn't release spreadsheets or name specific figures, even vague frustration about money distribution sparked conversation. The average listener often assumes that millions of streams equal millions in personal profit. The reality is far more layered, involving splits between labels, distributors, producers, and management. If YoungBoy's words implied dissatisfaction with how revenue flows, it reinforces the idea that the business side of music is more complex and sometimes more exploitative than fans realize. What makes this moment especially powerful is timing. The music industry is currently in a transitional phase. Independent distribution platforms are more accessible than ever. Artists are increasingly negotiating ownership rights. Conversations about masters and publishing, once niche topics, are now mainstream discussions. When someone like YoungBoy speaks during this shift, it amplifies the broader movement toward artist autonomy. Even if he didn't lay out a detailed expose, the mere suggestion of tension adds fuel to a growing fire. However, it's important to recognize that public statements can be interpreted in multiple ways. Frustration doesn't automatically mean exploitation. Contracts, even restrictive ones, are negotiated agreements. Creative tension is common in any industry. Sometimes an artist venting reflects emotional exhaustion rather than systemic injustice. The internet tends to fill in gaps dramatically, often escalating ambiguous comments into full-blown conspiracy narratives. Still, perception matters. And right now, the perception among many fans is that YoungBoy pulled back the curtain, even slightly, on how demanding and controlled the industry can feel. Whether he intended to spark a movement or simply express personal emotion, the effect is the same. People are talking. They are revisiting old interviews from other artists. They are questioning how record deals work. They are reconsidering what success truly means. As part 1 closes, the central tension remains clear. If one of the most streamed rappers in the world feels constrained, what does that say about the structure of the industry itself? Is this a case of contractual growing pains? Or is it evidence of deeper imbalance between artists and executives? The conversation is just beginning, and the implications could stretch far beyond one artist's experience. By the time Part 2 begins, the conversation surrounding NBA YoungBoy's revelations had escalated far beyond social media speculation. Fans, commentators, and even industry insiders were weighing in. He wasn't a newcomer struggling for attention. He was one of the most dominant figures in streaming, with millions of loyal fans and a massive influence over the hip-hop community. That alone made his comments resonate on a much deeper level. A major point of focus was his apparent frustration with creative control. In the modern music industry, record labels often exert significant influence over release schedules, marketing strategies, and even artistic direction. While these structures are intended to maximize profitability, they can sometimes conflict with an artist's vision. YoungBoy's comments hinted at the emotional weight of constantly balancing personal expression with contractual obligations. For artists who thrive on authenticity, this tension can feel suffocating. Fans quickly interpreted his statements as a rare glimpse into the behind-the-scenes pressures that are often invisible to the public. In addition to creative constraints, the topic of financial transparency became a heated talking point. Many fans assumed that with YoungBoy's massive streaming numbers, he must be earning astronomical sums. However, the music business is notorious for complicated royalty structures, recoupable advances, and layered revenue splits that leave even top artists questioning how much they actually take home. YoungBoy's remarks, though not fully explicit, seemed to hint at dissatisfaction with these arrangements. This struck a chord with listeners who had long speculated that streaming success doesn't always translate into financial freedom for artists, especially when management fees, label percentages, and production costs are factored in. Another element fueling the conversation was the pressure to constantly produce content. YoungBoy is known for an intense release schedule, from mixtapes to albums to surprise singles. Fans began speculating whether this pace is self-imposed or driven by contractual obligations. In many cases, Artists have to deliver a certain number of projects within specific timeframes to satisfy label agreements. That relentless demand can be mentally and emotionally taxing. If YoungBoy was highlighting this pressure, it offered an important reminder that fame and influence do not automatically relieve artists from grueling expectations. In fact, it may amplify them. Industry control over public image also factored into the discussion. YoungBoy has built a persona rooted in authenticity and relatability, but corporate structures sometimes require shaping an artist's narrative for maximum marketability. Interviews, press appearances, and social media content can be strategically curated to maintain a certain image. When an artist's personal expression clashes with business interests, frustration is inevitable. Fans interpreted YoungBoy's statements as a candid acknowledgement of that tension, which added to the sense that he was exposing a side of the music world rarely discussed openly. The reaction from the online community was immediate and intense. Videos of his statements were clipped, shared, and commented on across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Fan commentary ranged from supportive to critical, and discussions quickly broadened to encompass the systemic structures of the music industry as a whole. YoungBoy's position amplified the conversation. His influence meant that this wasn't just another rant from a minor artist. It was a potential catalyst for a wider discussion about artist autonomy, industry ethics, and creative freedom. Experts and commentators also joined in, dissecting the nuances of contracts, artist-label relationships, and power dynamics. Music attorneys pointed out that while contracts often seem restrictive, they are legally binding and designed to protect investments. Meanwhile, cultural analysts argue that YoungBoy's statements highlighted the ongoing tension between artistic freedom and commercial expectations. The blend of personal experience and structural critique gave his comments a layered resonance that extended beyond gossip. They were a snapshot of broader industry realities. Beyond finances and creative control, YoungBoy's statements touched on mental and emotional well-being. Constant scrutiny, pressure to perform, and the balancing act between personal life and professional demands can take a toll. Fans speculated that his words were as much about expressing frustration and fatigue as about criticizing the industry. This human element added depth to the narrative, reminding audiences that even chart-topping success comes with intense personal costs. As Part 2 concludes, one thing is clear. NBA YoungBoy's revelations have sparked a broader reflection on how the music industry operates behind the scenes. The discussion isn't just about one artist. It's about systems, pressures, and structures that affect countless musicians. While fans debate the specifics, the underlying tension is unmistakable. Even the biggest stars aren't immune to the constraints, demands, and complexities of the business that elevates them. The story is far from over, and what YoungBoy has opened the door to may influence conversations about artist rights and freedom for years to come. By the time Part 3 of this unfolding story arrives, the attention surrounding NBA YoungBoy's statements had shifted from social media speculation to serious industry commentary. Analysts, insiders, and fans alike were trying to parse what his words revealed about the inner workings of the music business. For YoungBoy, the moment was about more than just venting frustrations. It was about highlighting systemic pressures, creative limitations, and financial complexities that most fans rarely consider. And because he sits at the top of the streaming world, his perspective carries weight far beyond typical complaints from emerging artists. One recurring topic in the conversation was creative control. The industry often requires artists to follow structured release schedules, promotional campaigns, and branding guidelines. While this system maximizes profitability and visibility, it can also stifle artistic freedom. YoungBoy has cultivated a reputation for authenticity, releasing music that connects directly with fans. Any restriction, whether it's timing of releases, content approval, or collaborative choices, can feel suffocating. His statements suggested that even at the highest levels of success, navigating between personal expression and label demands is a delicate balancing act. Fans quickly connected with this tension, recognizing that authenticity is often compromised behind the scenes. Financial transparency was another critical theme. Despite YoungBoy's staggering streaming numbers, many questioned whether he truly benefits proportionally from that success. Contracts are notoriously complex, with laid royalties, recoupable advances, and management fees reducing the net income artists see. YoungBoy's subtle hints at dissatisfaction with money flow resonated widely because it contradicted the common assumption that chart dominance equates to wealth. His words suggested that even top-tier artists must navigate opaque financial arrangements, highlighting an often overlooked challenge of the modern music industry. Beyond money and creativity, the discussion expanded to personal and emotional pressures. Artists of YoungBoy's caliber face relentless demands, constant touring, producing content, engaging with fans on social media, and managing public perception. This creates a high-stakes environment where every move is scrutinized and every action is analyzed. When YoungBoy spoke about feeling constrained, fans interpreted it as an acknowledgement of the mental and emotional toll of fame. Even the most prolific, successful artists are subject to burnout, stress, and frustration, and these pressures often remain hidden from public view until someone speaks out. The interplay between corporate control and public image also fueled the conversation. Record labels and management teams frequently shape how artists are marketed, which aspects of their personality are emphasized, and which controversies are minimized. YoungBoy has built a strong personal brand rooted in raw honesty, and his statements hinted at the tension between remaining true to himself and conforming to industry expectations. Fans responded passionately, supporting his push for autonomy while also speculating on how these behind-the-scenes negotiations might affect future projects. Industry experts began weighing in, analyzing YoungBoy's comments from both business and cultural perspectives. Attorneys highlighted that contracts are legally binding and protect the financial investments of labels, but they also acknowledged that these structures can feel restrictive. Cultural commentators pointed out that his revelations reflect a broader trend of top-tier artists challenging traditional power dynamics. By speaking candidly, YoungBoy not only shed light on his personal experiences but also underscored systemic issues that affect artists across genres. His words resonated as both a personal grievance and a critique of larger industry practices. Fans responded with a mixture of empathy, curiosity, and outrage. Clips of his statement were widely shared, analyzed, and dissected across TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Memes, reaction videos, and discussion threads emerged, turning what might have been an isolated commentary into a viral cultural moment. Social media users debated whether YoungBoy's frustrations reflected temporary emotional expression or revealed deeper structural problems. This dialogue elevated the conversation from a single artist's perspective to a broader discussion about artist rights, contracts, and creative freedom. At the heart of the conversation, however, is YoungBoy's position in the music ecosystem. He is not a fringe player. He is one of the most streamed, influential rappers in the world. When someone of his stature speaks critically about the industry, it challenges fans' assumptions and prompts industry reflection. It forces observers to reconsider the balance of power between artists and executives, as well as the costs of fame that often go unseen. The narrative moves beyond gossip, entering territory that questions how the modern music business operates and who truly benefits from its structures. As Part 3 concludes, the stakes are clear. YoungBoy's statements are more than commentary. They are a lens into the realities faced by even the most successful artists. The tension between creative freedom, financial fairness, and emotional well-being is at the forefront of the conversation. What began as a personal expression of frustration has evolved into a wider discussion about the music industry, artist autonomy, and the hidden pressures of fame. With public attention intensifying and industry insiders listening closely, the next stage will likely reveal whether these revelations prompt change, spark deeper debate, or simply add another layer to the ongoing story of artists navigating a complex, high-stakes world. As the fourth part of this unfolding story continues, the focus shifts from the initial shock of NBA YoungBoy's revelations to the ripple effects that his words have caused, both within the music industry and among fans. Once a high-profile artist speaks candidly about contracts, creative limitations, and financial frustration, the conversation inevitably spreads far beyond a single social media post. YoungBoy's influence ensures that his insights are not dismissed as a momentary venting session. Instead, They spark serious discussion about the structures, power dynamics, and pressures that define the modern music world. One of the central issues at play is creative freedom. YoungBoy has built his career on authenticity, releasing music that resonates directly with fans and reflects his personal experiences. That sense of self-expression is crucial to his identity as an artist. However, contracts with labels often impose rules about release schedules, marketing campaigns, and even the type of content an artist can produce. What might seem like minor restrictions to outsiders can feel suffocating to someone used to working on their own terms. YoungBoy's statements hinted at the strain of maintaining his creative vision while also navigating these external expectations, which resonated with fans who value originality and autonomy. Financial transparency also remains a critical point of discussion. Despite YoungBoy's massive streaming success, the economics behind his earnings are complex. Revenue streams in the music industry are often layered and opaque. Advances must be recouped, royalties are split between multiple parties, and management and production fees further reduce take-home pay. His subtle hints at dissatisfaction regarding money management struck a chord with audiences, revealing that commercial success does not automatically translate into financial freedom. This aspect of his commentary opened a broader conversation about the systemic structures that determine how wealth is distributed in the music business. In addition to creative and financial concerns, YoungBoy's words drew attention to the mental and emotional pressures artists face. Maintaining a public persona, constantly engaging with fans, and meeting the high expectations of a label can be exhausting. Even an artist at the top of the charts experiences fatigue, stress, and the emotional toll of scrutiny. YoungBoy's candid expression of these pressures reminded the public that fame often comes at a hidden personal cost, and that what fans see on stage or online is only part of the story. Industry control over public image is another dimension highlighted by this situation. Labels and management teams have a vested interest in crafting a marketable narrative, which can conflict with an artist's own sense of identity. YoungBoy's statements suggested that he sometimes feels constrained by these expectations, needing to balance authenticity with professional obligations. This tension is not unique to him. It's a widespread challenge in the music industry, where commercial interests and creative freedom frequently collide. Fans responded with empathy, recognizing that even the most celebrated stars must navigate these complex dynamics. The reaction from the online community has been rapid and intense. Social media platforms were flooded with clips of his statements, commentary videos, and fan theories. The discussion was no longer just about YoungBoy as an individual. It had evolved into a broader debate about industry practices, fairness, and artist autonomy. Memes, debates, and reaction compilations spread quickly, keeping the story trending and ensuring that these issues remained top of mind for both fans and industry watchers. Experts and insiders began analyzing the implications of his words. Music attorneys pointed out that contracts exist to protect investments and ensure that artists and labels both benefit financially. However, they also acknowledged that these contracts can feel restrictive, especially when artists become highly successful yet still face structural obligations. Cultural analysts emphasize that YoungBoy's statements reflect a larger trend. Top-tier artists increasingly questioning traditional power dynamics and seeking greater control over their careers. The conversation had grown from a personal grievance to a commentary on systemic issues. At the core of this discussion is the relationship between personal expression and industry structure. YoungBoy's experience illustrates that even highly successful artists are subject to pressures that can limit autonomy and influence creative decisions. His revelations underscore the complex interplay between artistic freedom, financial arrangements, and public image management, providing fans and industry insiders alike with insight into the realities of the modern music business. As Part 4 closes, the narrative is clear. NBA YoungBoy's candid remarks have initiated a multifaceted dialogue about the music industry. Fans are dissecting every implication, insiders are reassessing artist-label relationships, and the public is gaining a glimpse of the challenges that top-tier performers face. Beyond viral clips and social media chatter, This moment has opened a window into the pressures, restrictions, and realities that define contemporary music, emphasizing that success and influence do not necessarily equate to freedom or control. The next stage will explore the long-term consequences of these revelations for YoungBoy, the industry, and the perception of artist autonomy as a whole. As Part 5 of this story unfolds, the focus shifts to the consequences and potential long-term impact of NBA YoungBoy's candid revelations. When a high-profile artist speaks openly about creative limitations, financial frustrations, and the pressures of the industry, it rarely stays contained. Fans, peers, and insiders begin re-evaluating not just the individual experience but the systemic structures of the music business itself. YoungBoy's words have ignited debates that touch on autonomy, ethics, and the balance of power between artists and executives, a conversation that extends far beyond one personal rant. One of the most immediate effects of YoungBoy's comments has been the way fans perceive the music industry. The typical narrative that success equals freedom, wealth, and influence is complicated when artists themselves reveal constraints. His subtle disclosures about financial splits, contractual obligations, and the management of creative output reminded audiences that behind every streaming milestone or sold-out show is a complex system of agreements that can limit an artist's independence. For many fans, this is both eye-opening and frustrating, challenging the assumption that fame is an unmitigated benefit. Creative control remains a central point of discussion. YoungBoy has consistently built his career on authenticity, producing music that speaks directly to his personal experiences and resonates with his fan base. Contracts, while necessary for business operations, sometimes restrict how, when, or what an artist can release. YoungBoy's remarks hinted at the tension of navigating this duality, staying true to oneself while satisfying external expectations. This tension is something even the most commercially successful artists encounter, but hearing it from one of the most streamed rappers in the world makes it impossible to ignore. Financial transparency and compensation are equally critical. Revenue in the modern music industry is multi-layered. Artists often deal with recoupable advances, royalty splits across producers, managers, and labels, and costs deducted from marketing and distribution. Even when streaming numbers are massive, the take-home can be less than fans imagine. YoungBoy's comments, though not exhaustive, suggest that this financial opacity contributes to stress and dissatisfaction, reinforcing the idea that visibility and influence do not always translate into full financial control. Beyond money and creative freedom, the discussion expanded to the emotional and mental pressures that come with fame. Constant public scrutiny, social media engagement, and high expectations for productivity create an environment where stress is nearly unavoidable. YoungBoy's candidness about these pressures resonated with audiences who recognize the human cost behind the public persona. Fame can amplify personal challenges, and his remarks serve as a reminder that mental health struggles affect everyone, regardless of status or streaming numbers. Industry control over image and narrative has also been highlighted. Labels and management teams frequently shape the public perception of artists, controlling interviews, press releases, and social media narratives to maximize commercial appeal. YoungBoy's words hinted at the friction between his desire for authenticity and the curated persona expected by the business. This tension between personal identity and marketable image is a persistent challenge, and by speaking out, YoungBoy gave fans a rare glimpse into the delicate balance required to navigate public and professional expectations simultaneously. The ripple effects of his statements extend to other artists and industry practices. By voicing frustration openly, YoungBoy emboldens peers to question the systems in which they operate. Conversations about ownership, creative freedom, and fair compensation are increasingly common, with top-tier artists seeking ways to assert autonomy. Independent distribution, renegotiated contracts, and strategic partnerships have become tools for artists aiming to retain more control, and YoungBoy's revelations add momentum to this growing movement. Social media amplified the NBA. YoungBoy just shook the music world with his candid revelations, and now the conversation is bigger than ever. What do you think? Is the industry treating artists fairly, or is it time for a complete shakeup? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know if you think more artists should speak out about creative freedom, financial transparency, and the pressures of fame. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the music industry's most explosive moments. Turn on notifications so you never miss updates on NBA YoungBoy or other artists revealing what really happens behind the scenes. Share this video with your friends who are curious about how the music business operates. And join the conversation. Your voice matters. Stay tuned as we continue covering every development, every revelation, and every controversy shaking the charts and the industry.